Hi everyone, it is officially Dark Academia time for me. I think like it's back to school time. I am long past school, but I still love this time of year. Currently it's the 29th of August and it's still 24 degrees outside. It's still quite hot, but I did want to put on my jumper and get ready for autumn. Get ready for Dark Academia reads and kind of cozier reads. So yeah, basically why I'm doing this is I did this video last year and I'll link it. I think it's here, this corner. I did a Dark Academia TBR for September. On that video, I actually didn't vlog it. It was just my TBR, but I just talked about the books that I wanted to read for all of September, maybe going into October, because I do feel like it's probably the best time of year to read Dark Academia books. So yeah, last year I put 5 books on my TBR and I only got to 4, but I loved them. So these are the 4. So I read Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dushenko. This is Russian originally and translated into English. I read Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and then of course I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Also put on my TBR last year but I didn't get to it was Ace of Spades, and this is by Frida Abike Iamidi, and I didn't get to this, but apparently this is a bit of Gossip Girl meets Dark Academia meets a thriller apparently, and I think it's a dual perspective of 2 students who are kind of rivals. I suppose a bit Pretty Little Liars-esque as well. I think there's people threatening to kind of out their secrets and stuff like that. Didn't get to this one. I've heard nothing but good things about it though, so I might get to this September. I'm going to try, but we'll see. So in terms of these, if you're looking for Dark Academia books, I would recommend all 4 of these, and I'll talk about them all briefly, and then I'm going to talk about the books that I want to get to in September as well. I think the first one I read out of the 4 was Vita Nostra, and this is by, as I said, Marina and Sergei Dushenko. I think they're a married couple, and this was Russian translated into English. This is like a wonderfully bizarre book, but it is one of those books where you can put your own theories as to what's going on. You can have so many takeaways from this book, and I like books like that. Like when I finished this and I started reading up on theories, I was like, oh my gosh. It is actually really well done. So basically the story is you have Sasha goes on holidays with her mum. She meets this man and he tells her to perform a really bizarre task, and when she does these tasks she gets these gold coins, and he tells her that these gold coins will pay for her to go to the school. And this is kind of, I suppose it's been marketed as a bit of a adult Harry Potter, but I wouldn't compare it to Harry Potter at all. I think the only similarity is that it's a magic school. So yeah, you have these band of students that go to this school. They're given these like really impossible assignments to do, and if they don't do them they'll have consequences, like their family could get hurt, all these things. But yeah, it is definitely just one of those books where you're like, wow, what is going on? It had some down points though. I do think if you can speak Russian, it probably would be good to read the original if you can, because I think there was definitely some things that were lost in translation. Definitely there was a few times where characters I felt like acted out of character. Something happened and it didn't really flow too well from what happened before, if that makes sense. So I think if you can read it in its original language, do. But the translation was done by Julia Hersey and she did a great job though still. I really loved this book. It's really stuck with me, and I'm actually really sad because I think there is books 2 and 3 but they haven't been translated yet, and I don't know if they're going to be. I'm not quite sure. There is a prequel out. I'll stick it here. I actually don't know what the name is, but I definitely want to get to it at some point. But yeah, this is definitely a book that sticks with you when you're finished it and you do read up on all the theories and stuff. It's very interesting. The only other downside to it though is that Sasha she's lost throughout it. She's really lost. She doesn't know why she's being asked to do these assignments. She doesn't know why these things are happening, and you're lost with her. And there is a point in the book where she figures out what's going on. Mild spoiler. But you as a reader don't really know what's going on, so there is a bit of a disjointing there where you feel like you're with the character and you're like, yeah, what's going on? You think you should understand what's going on when she understands it, but you don't quite, and you're still kind of left until the end to kind of figure out what's going on. Very strange. Really enjoyed it. Definitely very unique story, and I would definitely recommend it. It definitely has that, yes, studious Dark Academia feel, but it definitely leans more on a fantasy rather than Dark Academia, but still really loved it. I can't remember the order I read these, but I'll talk about Ninth House next by Lee Bardugo. So this one is set in Yale. So yeah, for this one you have Alex, and she basically gets a free ride to Yale. She survived a really horrific event, and because of this she's used as a protector for the societies on Yale, and she does this with a guy called Darlington. They're both really interesting characters, which I liked. This is a bit of definitely dark academia, but definitely a thriller as well. So there is a murder and Alex is trying to figure out what's going on, and she thinks the society's had a part of it. Then you kind of learn that the societies dabble in the extraordinary and they're a little bit more sinister. Some are more sinister than others, so it's actually very, very interesting. Quite graphic in places, like there's times that made my stomach nearly turn, so don't eat when you're reading this. But very interesting. The sequel, I believe, is coming out in January, I think. But yeah, definitely if you like magical books, if you like thrillers, dark academia, kind of dark fantasy, you'll like this. Again, this wasn't really my cup of tea. I felt like it was a little bit too dark for me, but I love Leigh Bardugo. I love her writing. I said this before in a previous video. If you're not a fan of the Grishaverse, and I love the Grishaverse, I love Shadow and Bone, I love Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, it doesn't mean you'll like this, and then vice versa. So if you weren't a big fan of maybe the Grishaverse series and you're a bit skeptical of Leigh Bardugo, I would still give this a go, because it's so different. Even the writing style feels a bit different, but I do really like Leigh Bardugo, really liked this story. I just thought that this was maybe a little bit too dark for my taste. Did really enjoy it, and it definitely has that, because of the setting, very much has the dark academia feel. I'm going to save the best for last, so I'm going to go on to The Maidens. So this is by Alex Michaelides, and this, I have such mixed feelings about this. And it's funny because I've seen so many mixed reviews on this as well. Some people think this is trash, some people think it's absolute trash, and other people love it. And I was like, where am I going to fall? And I actually fell somewhere in the middle, but quite liking it, like knowing its flaws but still really enjoying it. Bit like, and I compared this when I did a review, I was like, it's like watching a trashy reality TV. It's like that kind of enjoyment, like you know it's not good but you love it. So that's how I felt reading this. But yeah, so basically it's set in Cambridge. You have Mariana, who met her husband there, but tragically he's passed away. She hears about a friend of Zoe's, her niece, who has been murdered. So Mariana goes to kind of console her niece, and while she's there she decides to kind of try and solve the murder, and she believes it's a professor. I'm not sure what he teaches on, but Edward Fosca is the professor. She believes it's him and tries to bring him down, basically. He has a band of following called the Maidens, kind of a group of women only who study under him, and which is kind of creepy. Yeah. It definitely has some tropes that I don't like about thrillers. So you have the person that isn't a detective but thinks they can do a better job than detectives, aka the main character here. I thought the concept of the Maidens was a little weak. Like, I didn't find the group setting very believable. That being said, I did really enjoy this. I really liked the twist. I did actually quite like it. Some people didn't. I didn't see it coming, and I did really enjoy it. There's a lot of Greek mythology woven in here too, so it is quite nice for that if you're a fan of Greek mythology. But yeah, it's very quick to get through, very short chapters. So if you're looking for kind of a thriller in a cool setting, dark academia setting, I would go for this. I did quite like it, but I can see how it wouldn't be for everyone and how it could make some people angry. I would recommend it if you're looking for a cool thriller to read. I'm realising actually I've read a few thrillers this year, and I'm realising thrillers definitely aren't my favourite books. I find them all very similar in ways. Just need to find a good one. So last but not least, the best one, the dark academia book, is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And this book, I read this, I suppose, obviously last September, and it's stayed with me since. Love it. It's so good. Talk about the Maidens having short chapters. This has long chapters. Long chapters. I think this whole 600-page book only has 8 chapters, I think. So you're reading a very big chunk every time you sit down to read it. So I did get through it quite quickly. It's very immersive, so you don't really care. That being said, this came out in 92. This came out like 30 years ago. And I do think if this came out today, it would have been whittled down a lot more. There's definitely parts in this that didn't need to be included or were too long. So that is my only bad thing I'll say about that. So yeah, this is just dark academia to its core. So you have Richard, the main character. He basically goes to this university in New England, tries to fit into this study group. So the Greek mythology professor Julian, and he has a group of people that follow him, follow his teaching, and he teaches them all their subjects. So it's very exclusive. And Richard actually pretends to be well off when he isn't. Within the group there's a murder. It's funny, it's not really really a thriller because you're not trying to work out what happens. It's more that a murder happens within the story and you're reading the characters' reasons for it and the consequences of it and what happens. So it's quite interesting in that way where you're like, okay, you actually see, you know, the murder is included in the story. Does that make sense? Also, that's not a spoiler because it's like that is the first thing you're told. This is Richard 10 years later reflecting back, so the writing style is a bit like a diary entry a little bit. Richard is such an interesting character as well because he definitely has this superiority complex. It's just I do really love reading about flawed characters or reading about morally grey characters that are the main character. Really love that. But yeah, it is just dark academia to its core, just talking about studying what they're learning, the setting, everything. But yeah, just too long in places, and sometimes I felt like sometimes characters acted out of character. That's probably more on me than on the book. But I loved this book, loved it so much. It's just stayed with me so much. It's dramatic and entertaining without being melodramatic. It's dark, it's interesting, it's unique. The characters are amazing. I just don't know how to explain. But I just loved this book, and it's definitely a kind of like a modern classic for a reason. And if you read any book that I've recommended here, it should be this one. If you haven't done it already, definitely do. I don't know how it hasn't been adapted to a movie yet. Loved it. So that's my recommendations and what I read last year and really enjoyed. Dark academia isn't really a genre of book, really. Like, they always fall into fiction or fantasy or thriller or literary fiction, but it's just the atmosphere that they give. So I do really enjoy these types of books. So I picked out 4 more that I have on my shelves that I felt that kind of fit this category and hopefully get to in September. So yeah, the first one I want to read is The Devil Makes Three, and this is by Dori Ovalino. This is definitely a fantasy. So you have Tess and Elliot. They stumble upon an ancient book hidden in a secret tunnel beneath their school library. They accidentally release a devil from his book-bound prison, and he'll stop at nothing to stay free. He'll manipulate all the ink in the library books to do his bidding. He'll murder in the stacks, and he'll bleed in every inch of Tess's life until his freedom is permanent. Forced to work together, Tess and Elliot have to find a way to re-trap the devil before he kills everyone they know and love, including increasingly each other. And compared to what the devil has in store for them, school stress suddenly doesn't seem so bad after all. So I haven't heard about this too much actually. I think I got this in a Lumicrate last year, and so it has those lovely teal sprayed edges. I love this kind of like oil spill kind of inner on the inside of the book. So yeah, it kind of reminded me of a bit of maybe Tom Riddle's diary in the Chamber of Secrets, like a spirit within a book being able to cause chaos in the school. But yeah, this is quite short too, like it's a small little hardback, so I'd probably get through it quite quickly. Yeah, it's about 300 pages. But yeah, I just like the idea that it's about a little bit of romance, a little bit obviously dark academia setting, a little bit of fantasy, probably a bit of thriller as well. So it sounds very, very good. So I'm looking forward to reading that. The next one, and I'm not sure about this one actually, is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. And this was another book box book. I think I got this in Owlcrate, and it's got these gorgeous like silver sprayed edges. So yeah, I think this is set in a school. I think it's a female boarding school where it has a history of magic, and I think the current students are trying to resurrect that and kind of like bring it back. And I think the year before there was a murder. I think there's a threat that another killing is going to happen again. I think this is dual perspective as well. You have a girl who's like super popular. She's already kind of a prodigy novelist, and then you have the main character who lost, it was her partner that was murdered the year before. It's making me think of One for Sorrow, Two for Joy by Zoe Sung and Amy McCulloch. That's a duology I quite like as well. That one's set in a school but not necessarily dark academia. So yeah, I think this maybe might lean more on fantasy than dark academia, but I've heard that it definitely has that kind of feel to it, so that should be fun. I'm not sure, it might be too dark for my taste because I wasn't crazy about Ninth House. This might seem like a little bit lighter, but might not be my cup of tea, but still, we'll give it a go. The next one I want to read is Bunny by Mona Awad. I'm really interested to read this because apparently, a bit like Vita Nostra, it's supposed to be a bit like ambiguous, so you can try to figure out what's going on yourself and come up with your own theories. And I love books like that. I love when you have to figure things out yourself. And I heard that this is really wacky as well. So I think it is just about a girl who is kind of drawn into being part of this society or sorority, and all these girls call themselves bunnies. Yeah, that's all I know, and I think that's all the blurb gives away as well. Yeah, so it says Samantha is an outsider in her small, highly selective MFA program at Warren University. In fact, she is utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a clique of unbearably twee rich girls who call each other Bunny. So already you can tell that the main character is probably a bit up herself, which is interesting. So hopefully it's an unlikable main character. But then the bunnies issue her with an invitation, and Samantha finds herself inexplicably drawn to their front door, across the threshold, and down the rabbit hole. And like, that's all I know. I have no idea what's going to happen in this book, so very excited. I heard really, really good things about it, and the fact that it's reminding me of Vita Nostra, I'm really intrigued to read this. So yeah, the next one I want to read, and this one's a little bit more classically dark academia. This is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and I think this book is about, I think the main character is called Oliver, and it's about 10 years later, he's been charged for a murder that he may or may not have committed, and the detective is retiring and he wants to just get to the bottom of it and see what actually happened. And apparently him and his acting kind of cohort in their university kind of played their characters on and off stage as well. So when tragedy strikes, one of the 7 friends is found dead. The rest face their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and themselves that they were blameless. So yeah, I quite like that this leans on maybe more drama and English literature, maybe more Shakespeare, because I do find a lot of dark academia books lean on Greek mythology, which is fun as well, but I think it's cool to read about maybe a different concept. So yeah, it sounds fun, sounds a bit more like a thriller as well, and maybe trying to work out what happens yourself. But yeah, heard very good things. I'm excited about this. Yeah, I can already tell it definitely seems a bit like A Secret History. So yeah, these are the 4 books I really want to get to. I think I'll try to do some vlogs throughout September, some dark academia themed vlogs, and when I'm reading these books, because I didn't do that last year and I kind of regret it, but I did really enjoy reading those types of books at that time of year last year. So yeah, I'll link my other video up here and in the description. I'll link all my socials in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.